Are we live yet? I have no idea.
Pretty sure we're live.
No, it's just starting. Hey, there we are. We're live. Yay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's daily brief. Julie and I are actually reporting in from a shopping mall in the middle of Vancouver. We are busily trying to put together all the goodies for our TRI meetup here we're having here in Vancouver. So going to be kind of a weird episode, but what I kind of wanted to do was just a quick overview of what I see happening in the market. I have no idea how long this is going to take. It might just be a quick, 10, 15 minute kind of thing. We might be here a half hour, 45 minutes. I have no idea. We'll just try and have some fun. If the screen cuts out or anything along those lines, we've got Shane here. He might come in and yell at me just to make sure that I've got the right screen going. And I suppose what we could do is, what I'll do is I'll put the TRI Lounge on my cell phone. Maybe if we're really lucky, we can ask Julian to just monitor this. If you guys need to post anything or any questions in particular, I've got the cell phone chat going. So if somebody wants to post in the Hangout chat, or excuse me, in the I guess the Rocket Chat Lounge room, just to test it out, tell me how wonderful you think of me or how horribly you think of me, and then that way I'll know we're rocking and rolling. Okay, I haven't seen anything.
Holy crap.
Woo, look at that, just as we're speaking. Somebody shares that we got the daily brief going and a big dump. So looks like we got lots of fun to talk about there with Bitcoin. Of course, you guys have been hearing recently daily charts and stuff like that. I'm not overly impressed with the Bitcoin price action. But let's first start off with the biggest market around, of course, what sort of drives everything here. Great, what the heck did I just do here? Put that away. Get rid of that. Okay, let's try and do that again. How do I get this chart to be the full screen? Oh, that one there. Hey, there we go. All right, so looking at the US dollar index daily chart, we've talked lots about this recently. It looks to me, just on first blush, and I haven't looked at these charts in a bit, but when I just sort of blindly look at this, and Julian, I'm going to mess your settings up here. My apologies ahead of time. But when I just look at this on first blush, I see an AB equals CD, which to me looks like they want to take this thing up and pretty much probably trade to new highs here. We've got, of course, the FOMC meeting coming up here. It's either today or tomorrow or the next day. Not entirely positive. The event actually may have already started. Hi, Joshua. Morning, he says. And if somebody has sort of an update on what the Fed's actually doing, you want to post that in the lounge, it's totally fine by me. But we had talked quite a while about the US dollar index being in a bit of a wedge. Sure looks to me like they've broken that wedge out. We could probably draw our wedge line something along those lines, like there. So that looks to me like it's broken out maybe about 3 or 4 days ago. Working this AB equals CD. And really at that point, I'd actually be looking for some sort of softness. Theoretically, and of course I haven't looked at the rags in a little bit. I've been just running around like a chicken without a head with all this moving and beat up stuff. But the sort of rhetoric that I remember most recently was that the Fed was going to be cutting rates. So I wouldn't even be surprised if this is like a buy the rumor, and then on that event we get a sell the news situation. Any new trades per se? Not really. I would prefer to let this AB equals CD play itself out. If you are hunting setups off of the currencies, maybe let this AB equals CD play itself out. It gives you a pretty good PRZ. And on that event, just eyeballing it here off of Julian's laptop, looks like it's about 98.40. So we're sitting at 98.07 right now. Probably a good 30 ticks or so to go to the upside. And at this point here, this is where we really want to get into hunting divergence mode. If a divergence does come in on that AB equals CD, and then we get a nice M, then I think you actually might have a trade there. So, you know, if you're playing things like the euro, the pound, the Canadian dollar, Japanese yen, whatever, my hunch is let the index come into this level, then pop on over to those individual currency markets that you're looking at and go start hunting for setups there. So that's sort of my US dollar currency update. Moving on, take a quick boo at, and really these two markets are sort of side by side. Hi there. We can look at stocks first, but like I said, stocks and bonds usually go in together. Yeah, interesting how Bitcoin's really messing with people. Keep in mind that is a 15-minute chart. We'll get to that later on. So we just did the US dollar index. I think, you know, probably I want to zip on over and take a look at the bond market next. All right, so here's our bonds off of the daily chart. This is the long bond in the States. I guess when I first look at this, what I see is shoulder, head, shoulder, with a potential neckline somewhere along those lines. I suppose you could argue that this also could very easily be sort of a buy the rumor, sell the news scenario. Once the Fed actually gets out of the way and does its thing, then we'll probably see whatever trade that was really supposed to happen here develop. I suppose if we think about things like reload zones, I don't know whether we, Julian has the fibs on here or not. Let's see. 38.2, interestingly enough, is all the way down here. And that's actually kind of cool because you can see that the head and shoulders pattern, right, that 200% extension, if we just clone that extension level, you can see how that's basically going to take us right in between 50% and 38.2s. You can see the gaps. Look at this big old monstrous gap sitting right there. So that's at 147 and change, 154 now. So, you know, we could actually see a bit of a sell-off here in bonds, which would imply higher yields. And interestingly enough, remember we had talked recently about the correlation between gold, bonds, yen, and Bitcoin. So interestingly enough, actually, mind you, that was an inverse correlation of the yields, and that was bid price, wasn't it? So I don't know. I guess when I look at this, if we do confirm this head and shoulders, that to me actually says that we're going to see yields move higher. We'll probably see the yen itself move lower. And interestingly enough, I think it actually means that we'd see gold move lower, but we'll see how it goes. Why don't we, after we're done the stock market, let's go and take a look at that gold market index. So there's your scenario in the US dollar. AB equals CD heading into that Fed announcement event. Watch for PRZs up top. Bonds sure looks like a head and shoulders top. Again, waiting for that FOMC event. If we get a big break through the neckline here, then I think it portends a serious test of 38.2s to 50% and big old gaps, and of course trades back against previous key lows. Popping over to the stock market. If the bonds do break, then that actually break down. That actually bodes well for stocks because it means that the bond ghouls think that the economy is still growing, that inflation is still a threat, and usually that means things like corporate profits are going to be rising. When I look at this stock market, I guess what I see is just on first blush, seem to have pretty steep rising wedge here. I don't know whether I would go off of this low or maybe even off of these lows. That's a tough one. Either way, it sure looks to me like we're coming into some sort of apex event here. So I think actually there was a gentleman on this site, I can't remember who it was just off the top of my head, who actually painted a really cute little inverted head and shoulders here. which actually projected a price target just slightly higher than these levels. And you know, into August and early September, this actually seasonally is when the stock market should be okay. And then we usually get the break after, say, about the second or third week of September. So we might be setting up for a nice little continuation pattern higher. But then, of course, remember, we've got the Fed coming up here. If the market doesn't like what the Fed's saying, we could very easily break. So, you know, it's not really the best place to be a buyer. If anything, I think we're probably closer to the top than a bottom. Um, and if we do break, say, like these kind of trend lines and close below, then I'm going to start getting into things like Leanne James looking for market structure below this trend line to actually look for short windows. I guess the reason why I think that the stock market could still move a bit higher is I actually, and I think I did this chart up, I tweeted it out a little while ago, but I'm actually thinking that we just play a simple connect the dots. Notice how this high, notice, and then remember we talked that somebody on the site posted an inverted head and shoulders and was saying it looks like we want to go a little bit higher. You know, that would actually take us up into that trend line resistance, which I think actually would be the ultimate perfect sort of scenario for a nice little short in the stock market. So only time will tell. You know, for those people that are interested in hunting shorts here, because frankly speaking, we're probably pretty close to some sort of pivot here. Does it take the next month or so to develop? I could easily see that. But let's keep a real close eye on for divergences. You can see the volume divergence is already starting to build. Yes, we are going to new highs, but you notice volume bars are not going to new highs. So we're already starting to get the very little early tells that we're close to some sort of pivot up top here. You know, once those divergences have actually been confirmed, then we want to go into M hunting mode. You know, the M might come in really, really fast, like this one here. Notice that this was an outside downside key reversal, and then the M actually developed on nothing more than just a test of that top, and then boom. And interestingly enough, this candle actually closed up here. Following day, we closed down here, but you can see the high-low bar close M, and then if we change this to actually like a closed line, you can see the M comes in there, right? And that sort of portrended our short bias trade for the next month or so going forward. So do we have those M's? No, I don't think so. We're coming into interesting location. I don't think we're quite there yet. And I don't know if, you know, I can see lots of potential divs. Sure looks to me like, you know, volume-wise, everybody's sort of falling asleep here. So it's just really a question of we just have to just slowly wait for this setup to develop. I like the idea of hunting shorts here, especially heading into the fall. Don't call it the fall for nothing, yada, yada, yada. So I definitely do like the idea of hunting a short trade, you know, playing into the fall and maybe even through Christmas. Remember last year what our beloved buddy Mr. Trump did to the stock market into Christmas. So, you know, don't be surprised if we happen to see that kind of action again this year. That wouldn't surprise me. Notice how last year, look at the top, how it came in through September, October. That's pretty much what I'm looking for this year. Same sort of thing. Okay, moving on. And I don't know, is anybody getting any value out of this presentation today? Hope you guys are enjoying this. I should just check in with you guys in the lounge. How are you guys feeling? Are we doing half decent here, or am I going to blow everything up? Oh, I'm going to blow up everything. All right. Tony says all good. Colleen says, of course. Kevin says, yeah. All right, cool. So I hope you guys are getting some value out of this. Okay, so moving on. The gold market. I've been very leery about gold. I think recently I was posting, you know, this rising wedge. And there's an old expression in the market, well, not expression, but just simple rule, like rising wedges are usually bearish. So I don't know whether, I mean, it sure looks to me like we need to go up and test this. And you know what this reminds me of? Do you remember Druckenmiller? Druckenmiller through the Trump election. When the market caught wind that Trump was actually going to win the election, gold, do you guys remember that? Gold just took off like a rocket. It went up like, I remember, like 30, 40 bucks an ounce in like a heartbeat. And it turns out later on, Druckenmiller was in there, shorted the shit out of gold up top there, and he was the one who put the top in the market. I don't know whether any of you guys remember that or not. That was really funny. I do remember we were all hanging out in the lounge. Does anybody remember that? No, nobody remembers that, eh? Okay, well, anyway, Crazy Brian's got a memory for these silly things. Anyway, the point of the matter here is this is a VTOP, and just kind of like what they did here, I would expect some sort of test of these highs, maybe even a nice trade location against this candle body level right there. So I don't know whether I would like put a fork in it, but what I could see happen, Fed announcement day, Fed comes along, says they're going to do whatever they're going to do. I think the consensus is that they're going to cut rates a quarter point. They say something in their statement that sort of spooks the market, and gold jumps up here, comes up into these levels. And that's actually where I think, like a trader's got to trade. You can already see the volume divergences, like interest in the market is backing off. And as we were heading to new highs here, you can see the volume is backing off here. So, I don't have the ability to throw on momentum indicators here right now, so I can't really see. All right, let's see. Julian's saying I can do it. So let's see. Type whatever one you want. Why don't we do Julian's favorite? Good old RSI. Since this is his computer. There you go. So you can see the massive divergence that's already built into price here. So you can see the divs are already starting to form. So really, ironically enough, the only thing that's sort of missing right now is just trade location. Got a nice little counter trend rally up into this area, and I actually wouldn't mind the idea of hunting a short. So keep that in mind. And of course, that's very contrary to what most people, on Twitter and stuff like that. They're all gold bugs and stuff. So I know it's going to be probably an unpopular view, but that's just how I feel. And that's why you guys pay me the big bucks to tell you how the hell I feel, right? Okay, so I just want to take a quick boo at silver. We don't look at silver very often, but she was jumping up a bit here. Ooh, interesting. So, we do have our momentum oscillator here, the RSI. It is overbought, so we should be respectful of that alone. Looks like we got a little bit of a railroad tracks right up top here, right? So straight up, straight down, and it doesn't look like this has been confirmed yet. And actually, what's kind of cool too about this is also, it's not a bearish harami, but it does look like it's a bear ramming. So clearly, if we lose this low right here on the silver, that's 1634. That'll confirm the inside bar failure, and it's not technically the best looking railroad tracks, but that would give us that signal off of the railroad track fail there. So clearly 1634, pretty important level. And of course, if you're bullish, then you want to watch the inside bar high, which is 1655. So you have a pretty tight range there, right? Only about a 20-cent range defines whether silver's still a bull or whether silver's a bear. So actually some really cool levels to keep an eye on there in the silver market. All right, so that's your metals review. Let's see. I suppose this is a good time for us to pop on over, take a good old look at the corn. Okay, why do I keep screwing this up? How do I do this? There, that's the one. All right, so we started off this conversation here today. Keep in mind, this is a 15-minute chart. If anything, a really good lesson for everybody here, why we don't really suggest that you start with lower time frames. Because we actually started this call and price was tanking here. And it kind of caught our attention, and then noticed that actually that candle was just bullshit. So really good lesson right there. And don't start your analysis off the lower time frames. That's dangerous. let's start at a higher time frame and then we'll zoom in and see what the chart's trying to tell us. So off the dailies, nothing really shocking. Message really hasn't changed a heck of a lot over the past few weeks. I believe that, of course, and everybody on the site should drill this into your heads. If you ever see the market smiling at you, just be careful. This is not the time to go and be a hero and bet the farm. Sadly, a lot of people in the public, I bet, are actually placing some pretty big bets on Bitcoin right now. And I would actually make the argument that the odds are actually against them.
Hey, Brian, I think you got muted there.
Got muted there, Brian. By me, unfortunately. Sorry.
Shane, you muted me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you now, Brian.
Tokyo.
We've been getting a few bit of scrambling there, so I hit the mute button.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's probably we're sitting right by a fast food restaurant, so I apologize if this broadcast is shitty. I've been blabbing away for a half an hour here, so we probably want to wind this up relatively soon. Okay, so deep fryers aside, sorry everybody. I don't know what you last heard me speak of, but I was basically suggesting that we are still having a war at this 38.2. And it looks to me like on first blush that the bears are winning the war. If I change this to a line chart, you should be able to see that a little clearer. Can you see the bears really exerting themselves here? Now, oh Jesus, now I got a phone call coming in here. Can you answer that? Hello. I'm good. I'm right in the middle of a call. Can I call you back? Okay, sure enough. I'll talk to you in a bit. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, sorry about that, everyone. Holy curveballs, Batman. So where was I? Yeah, if we change this to a line chart, you can clearly see the very noticeable ME action. We can see the market smiling at us, which of course is never a good sign. It looks to me like the buying interest here is just evaporating, which, for if you're a bull, that's not a good sign. Trade location wise, as I had said earlier, this to me looks like it's a 38.2 battle being resolved. If we actually want to be bullish and we want to think about buying, we, on balance should really be waiting for the market to dip back down into reload zones. But, all honesty with all you guys, it wouldn't surprise me one bit to see Bitcoin come right back down to 88.6s and check original breakouts. And remember, too, that, and I did this chart a while ago, and it was very, very unpopular. But I'm actually feeling more and more comfortable. And I don't know if this is the ultimate high, but let's assume that it is for the purposes of this conversation. I'm feeling more and more comfortable with like a bad scenario here. Something along those lines. That's what I actually think our future is. I don't, obviously I'm in the middle of a shopping mall. I'm doing a show off of somebody else's computer. Thank you very much, Julian, for being flexible and being able to help. So these numbers are not exact at all, but I don't see any reason why this kind of scenario can't play itself out. And so if I did actually want to be a buyer of Bitcoins, I would be targeting somewhere between, it looks like about 4,000 and 7,000 bucks. And of course, when price does come down into that area, we want to see signs of divergence, then we want to see W's, and then we can start thinking about the market actually turning. So put it all together, certainly nothing, imperative to be done in the short term on the buy side. Kind of a tough location to be hunting shorts. I suppose, if you're off of things like OKCoin and MEX and all those kind of places, you might actually have like bearish bots setting up with this price action. That really wouldn't surprise me as well. If we go boobity boo, I don't think Julian has the bot levels on here though. So just on balance, just very quickly, we should be thinking we want to see a market rally at least about 33%. Actually, maybe I can just do this for this one. Let's see what happens. Why don't we do it over here? We'll go 0.33 and 0.66. Just pick all this stuff. Okay, that should work. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so we have the other fib on here. So, okay, yeah, I think that's it. All right, so there's 30, geez. Oh man, I think that's 33 there, 66 there. So we did hit that. We did get, and then one high, two highs. Really, you could even argue three highs. You could argue 2, 3 there. So if we clone this, and drag that down there. And then let's go 50%, 66.
Sorry, Brian, I just muted you there. I got really gnarly again. Meow meow. Brian, can you hear me? Wish I could unmute from here, but I can't. I think he has to do it himself. But yeah, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hey, we're having fun. What the hell?
There you go.
You're trying, you're trying your best, and dude, that's all I can ask of anybody. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate your help regardless. Okay, so interesting. Check that out. So there's 25. Nope, that's not right. Oh, jeez. I'll try and wind this up fairly shortly, folks. Sorry. Okay, so one high, two highs, three highs, maybe four highs. There's 25. 50% here. 66 is 8,200 and change. And it looks like the ultimate objective on this setup is about 6,800. So there's some levels for you to chew on. And I actually like that 6,800, right? Because then that's going to take us basically against all these lows. Market will dump into 66. If had you taken this short bot, you'd be locking in profits on a serious test of these lows. If the market does come along and smash those lows and even come right down into these lows, you can see there is the bot objective. And that would clean out all these lows. And if I'm not mistaken, there's like a really, really big tail on one of these candles, which would be perfect. Yeah, there it is there. And interesting enough, look at that too. So that bearish AB equals CD bot objective is basically just going to finally come in and force the market to fill in that gap. And that to me makes a lot of sense. So big tail, gap, reload zone, AB equals CDs, market smiling at you, trend line resistance, put it all together. It's very, very difficult for me right now to make the Bitcoin bullish case. So sorry to throw a wet blanket on things, guys, but that's basically what I'm seeing right now. Now, if you wanted to be like, okay, but I want to day trade, I want to look at the lower time frames. Is there any sort of wiggle room? I think you could make the argument, but this is very advanced, folks, right? Only people that have like completed the education program, just a ton of practical experience, have logged their 20 paper trades, 20 real size trades. Only then do I really want to see you guys even thinking about like day trading. French. But I was going to just throw on here. There we go. You know, coming down. You know, using this. In fact, actually, why don't we use this? Top of this range to the bottom of this range. You can see 78.6. There was a really nice reload zone short there. And then if we go the other direction. You can see, gotta flip that around. There we go. 78.6, gee whiz, there's that big honking tail there. Looks like these lows held, so that's good. So, you know, I can understand the range traders, but remember, folks, super advanced, gotta have your trading plan all perfectly vetted ahead of time. If you are hunting longs, you know, I suppose you could make an argument that just even off of this range alone, and of course that's backwards again. From this high back against this low. So now you've got 78.6 is this level here. And that happens to line up with a mountain man. And of course, you know, Brian, he absolutely loves when you get reload zones within reload zones. So this little area right in here, I can understand. It was interesting that we started the video off with Bitcoin dumping into that level, and of course, think New York kill zone. I get the impression that that dump actually set up a day trade, long trade for the range traders in New York. Swing traders, I think you got to be thinking shorts off of these BOD levels, looking for that big dump down into, you know, 8,000 area for your initial locking in profits, and then you know, 7,000 area, fill in gaps, ultimately eat the tails, higher time frame reload zones for those swing trade profit, ultimate profit objectives. Okay, well, there you go. I sure hope that helps everybody. I think I'll probably leave it at that for today. Threw a lot of sort of really quick stuff at you. I suppose it's now 9:42. Julian, is there anything you wanted to? I don't know what that is. Is there? Did you want to take a look and talk to the gang about what you see off of your charts?
It's too loud here. I'll do it tomorrow.
Okay. All right. So Julian said that he will do his a little update for the site in the daily brief tomorrow. I really didn't want you guys feeling like you were left hanging. You know, I've had an absolutely horrendous past couple weeks with this crazy move. No excuses. That's, you know, certainly not your problem. That's entirely mine. But I really didn't want you guys feeling as though I just left you hanging there. So thank you very much for your patience and understanding with good old Brian. Of course, the school program will be back on course as soon as we have the meetup done. But we'll just give you a quick little camera shot and send you on your way. Does the camera work? There we are. So there I am. There's Julian. So this is 2/3 of the TRI team.
I'm tired.
We're both bagged. He's been on a plane for like forever. So we made it. Thank you very much for your understanding. If you are in Vancouver, we will see everybody shortly. We're Julian's securing all the Airbnbs this afternoon. I'm going to be actually, that phone call that I was interrupted with was my old landlord saying, "Where the hell are the goddamn keys, you son of a bitch? Get out of here." So I got to go deal with him. Thank you very much, everybody. Other than that, have yourselves a great day. And you got even KFC got a free plug in there, bastards. So have yourselves a great day, everybody. All the best. And the only thing left for both of us to say is 3, 2, 1. Bye for now. All right. Bye, everybody.